I finally found them. I finally found the Strathmore Mix Media Sketchbook. Won't believe where I found it. I found it in a paper section of the grocery store, and I'm just like amazed that it was there because I've been looking everywhere for this sketchbook and I did not expect to find it at the grocery store. So obviously I grabbed one, and now I'm definitely going to test multiple medias in it since everyone is saying those sketchbooks are great. I have 4 characters from series I like, 4 male characters I should precise, from series I like, which I'll be drawing with different medias in this sketchbook. The medias include acrylic, watercolor, gouache, and markers. So let's do a review of this sketchbook, shall we? Oh, also before we start, can you guess the 4 characters? Just for fun? Alright, let's get arting, everyone. Quick mention, this video is not sponsored. I paid this sketchbook with my tiny bits of saving, so I'll be honest and I will say how I truly feel about it. First off, I won't lie, the sketchbook is not laying flat and it's a bit of a bummer. Like, forget working near the inner seam. Not great if you like to do arts that spreads across 2 pages. But I rarely find non-spiral bound sketchbooks that can lay flat, especially not ones with thicker paper. It's probably going to be less of an issue when I reach the middle pages. I'm going to be skipping over the sketching phases, or else the video will simply be too long. I'm starting with a media I am extremely unfamiliar with, which is alcohol markers. Ohuhu Markers. Using the character Sanoir from Miraculous Ladybug. Why markers first? Because I know it will bleed through. And I expect a lot of bleeding, but this is intense. You'll see soon how much 3 to 4 layers of alcohol markers actually go through this paper. And this sketchbook defense, it is not the marker sketchbook. When using markers, you have to use marker paper or it will bleed through. But the bleed through degree can vary. Also, the markers not only bled through, but it was feathering quite badly. Might have been my technique. I don't actually know how to use alcohol markers, to be honest. I know I have to use the blender before the colors to help the blending, but I might have overdone it. The coloring pencils seemed to work fantastically on this paper. I used the Derwent Chromaflow to fix the markers feathering and add details. It laid down beautifully on top of the markers, so I have good faith that anything pencil wise should work perfectly on this paper. I started this part by trying to cover up some of the markers bleeding through the page with white acrylics, and I didn't quite wait for it to fully dry at first, but no worries, I fixed it. Not much to say about acrylics. It's a pretty safe medium on almost all surfaces, to be honest. Most mixed media papers of 120 DSM and above can take acrylics. Maybe because it's a wet medium, but not with that much wetness. As like, the water stays binded to the pigment, so it doesn't reach the art surface much compared to the other mediums. I am not a professional acrylic painter. Well, not a professional at any traditional medias, to be honest. Nothing particularly stood out to me while working on Zagreus. Not my first time drawing him on this channel, No bad surprises, very normal behavior. 10 out of 10 for acrylics. Now I feel more familiar with watercolors. I've used watercolors and colored pencils the most when it comes to doing traditional art. And back in school, I would carry watercolor pencils with the water brush to color between classes. On days with more free time, I had a little carry set of watercolors for actual painting. I am, again, nowhere professional with watercolors, but I usually get a pretty good guess at how the paint will react. For the watercolor section, I started sketching with my Faber-Castell watercolor pencils, as well as my Faber-Castell Polychromos for the colored line art. I went with Link from Zelda Ocarina of Time this time. One of my first favorite characters. Still love this version of him. I wish we had a third game to the Nintendo 64 Zelda saga. I used the Winsor&Newton Cotman watercolors. I was extremely worried that the paper would break under multiple layers, especially since the paper seems a bit sensible to erasing and removing tape. But to my surprise, it held up quite well to my style at least. I honestly did not expect this paper to work so well with watercolors. I got some light buckling, but the back is perfect. No rip paper. Dries quickly sadly, but that might just be because it's extremely dry here. So far I do like this mixed media paper better than my art creation sketchbook for wet medias. I used some white gouache for highlights on certain parts, like the collar or the sword's hilt. As final touch-up, I used my Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. Again, pencils were great. Pento tape? Well, be careful. I suggest heating the tape with like a heat gun for easier removal. Our last media for this video is gouache, more specifically Arrtx Jelly Gouache. Gouache is becoming one of my favorite media to use. I love how you can use it like watercolors but also keep the paint almost as thick as acrylics. For me, a fan of both acrylics and watercolor, it's simply the perfect mix. Except for one thing. As you've seen before, I love adding some hints of colored pencil on top of my work. Well, gouache, when laid down thickly, just inherits the acrylic's texture, which is smooth. Which means the adhesion just isn't great. But let's actually move back to the sketchbook itself. Just like watercolors, it worked amazingly. slight buckling, but nothing too bad. I did wonder for a moment during my first layer if the paper had ripped a bit, but on closer inspection it looked fine. So honestly, it did great with gouache. I do have to remember that this paper is 190 ZSM, so not quite the 300 ZSM of watercolor paper, but thicker than the 160 ZSM of the Amsterdam Mix Media Sketchbooks, which I used to use a lot during school. Also thicker than the 140 ZSM of the Art Creation Sketchbook, which I also started using because they were cheap. Well, inexpensive. So obviously it does a pretty good job for me since I use too much thinner paper. Our last character for this video is Saitama from One Punch Man. One Punch Man is one of my favorite mangas. I love the idea behind the character. A guy who had a dream and worked hard to achieve it. Even if the story and the character is meant to be humoristic, it's also inspiring. It's inspiring to know that with hard work, you can reach the top, even if no one knows your name. But also, what is there left after reaching the top? Saitama is a character who had accomplished his goals and is trying to figure out what to do next. So I find the emotional and psychological development of the character interesting to see, which is one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite mangas. Well, after my first few tests, I totally get the hype behind the sketchbook. It's a great sketchbook. I really liked working in it. Well, besides the not laying flat issue, right? But it's not like I'm planning on using it to do like big finished pieces in it. It's a sketchbook. I'll doodle and throw concepts in it. I'll probably use it for character designs and our games/challenges videos. I'm overall very happy with my purchase. I hope I get to find the bigger version too. I would prefer a bigger version. But thank you all for watching. Feel free to leave a comment if you'd like me to try a specific medium in this sketchbook. I cannot afford to buy new art supplies, but I'll give it a try if I have it. Also, did you guess the 4 characters right? Special thank you to my Ko-fi members: HDKA, Country Admiral, Marcus Fell, Sammy, and Zazar. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye!